We have a special treat today. The Borrowed Book is proud to present one of our own, Sandra Moore. She writes as S. Dionne Moore, is here talking about her latest release, The Promise of Time. Welcome, Sandra. So let's start with a familiar question. Did you dream of becoming a writer as a child? And if not, what did you see yourself doing?
Not as a child. As a teenager, I started writing some stories, and every night I would go to sleep and try to, that was kind of my way to put myself to sleep, was to add to that story. And then the next morning I'd get down, um, I'd start scribbling down my thoughts and things from the previous night. So the story grew over time, and that was actually part of my first manuscript, which has never seen the light of day, which is probably not a bad thing. So did I dream of it since I was a child? No, not really. Probably when I was a child I wanted to be something like a professional adventure game player or something, because my brother-in-law got me hooked on computers, when they were first making their appearance on the scene. And I got, I had one of the first IBM 8088 machines. And so I loved techie stuff, and I still really like techie stuff.
Like most writers, you and I sometimes put things in our books that are very personal. Is there something in Promise of Time that's about you or someone you know?
Are there any elements of me? Not really. I think because I create and generate, of course, the story and the characters and their characterizations, and I think everything that I write is filtered through me and through my life experiences and that type of thing naturally. So, but to say that like one character has my personality or another character has one of my quirks, no, I not in this book. Some of them might have had my quirks in previous works, but Promise of Time, I don't think so. Might be for the best.
I can see some of your personality quirks coming out in that mystery series, Sandra. So how long did you write before you sold your first book?
Well, I joined American Christian, it was romance writers at the time. I later became American Christian fiction writers, and like August of 2000 or something like that. I was member number like 62, which tells you, the organization's I think over 3,000 now, so it's grown rapidly. But so when I joined American Christian Fiction Writers, that's when I really started learning the writing rules, the craft of writing, how to develop a story, how to develop a plot, how characterization, all of those types of things. And I sold my first book after finally in the Genesis contest in 2000, I want to say 2008. I can't remember exactly. So I got my first contract probably spring of 2008.
I'm a member of ACFW as well. It's a great organization. So now, Sandra, tell us about your latest release, The Promise of Time.
Ellie Lester doesn't think her heart will ever heal. And Theo, the hero, comes on the scene and has a secret that he needs to share with her, but he's afraid. And he's afraid for his own reasons. So together, they have to overcome their differences of opinion, very strong differences of opinion. And they have to make their choice, whether they're going to choose to love each other in spite of their differences, or to forsake love for their opinions. And it took place right after, like November, when Abraham Lincoln was getting ready to give his Gettysburg Address at the dedication of the cemetery. And Ellie's there, and she's feeling like her heart will never heal.
Writers often talk about the hero or heroine of their stories, but today I'd like to know something about your villain. Does she or he have a redeeming quality?
A villain. That's a good question. But I think in Promise of Time, I think the villain really is the war itself. Theo's reaction to all that he saw, all that he experienced, was so traumatic for him and mentally traumatized him in such a way, that it impaired him. Not mentally impaired him, but it did have an impact on how he perceived things. And so I say the war in itself, and of course, even the heroine, the war affected her because it took the man she loved. So the war itself really is the villain in Promise of Time.
Sandra, I love that our readers are getting to meet you face to face. You're so much fun, and it's been fun interviewing you today. Do you have any parting words that you'd like to share before we go?
Parting words. Probably that writers write, and that a lot of writing is rewriting. It's so easy to sit down and write, those first 3 chapters, and you're on a roll, and you think you've got everything paced and plotted, and you've got your synopsis to work from. But really, finishing a book is just the first step. It's the ability to go back and say, okay, this isn't working. I think that is the essence of writing, the rewriting part. And that's what helps your story get stronger.